Hi, Miss Tillman's class. Okay, today we are on lesson 7.3 and it's multiplying with 0 and 1. There are two things that I need you to do before we actually get started on the lesson, and that is I need you to get a couple sheets of paper, and then I need you to get 10 counters, and we did this last unit where I had you just find 10 of the same object or whatever you could find, 10 things lying around. So I need you to get 10 counters and a couple pieces of paper. I want you to go ahead and pause the video now and go get those items and then come back, and I'm going to have you do something where you're going to pause the video again and then we'll actually get started on the lesson. So pause the video now and go get your items. Okay, great. Do you have your items? Good. Okay, the first thing that I want you to do, and we did this when we were doing multiples or factors with 2 and 5, we're going to create two different fact charts. One is going to be your ones facts and one is going to be your zero facts. So I've created the chart. Looks like this. You need to do your ones facts starting with 0 and go all the way down to 12, and you'll have like 0 times blank equals blank, 1 times blank equals blank. I need you to make one of your pieces of paper for your ones facts, and then I need you to do another piece of paper with your zeros facts. So you're going to go ahead and pause the video now, create your two charts on two separate sheets of paper, and then come back when you're ready to get started. Go ahead and pause the video now. Okay, great. Did you create your charts? All right, good. Let's get started. Okay, you've already learned how to use patterns to create fact tables for multiplying with 2, 5, and 9. Today we're going to use the same ideas to discover patterns when you multiply with 0 and 1. Let's think back to when we multiplied with 2 and 5 and 9. We multiplied, we found some patterns when we were multiplying with those factors. Let's think about those kind of patterns when we're multiplying with zeros and ones. Are there some facts that you already know because we've already worked with 2, 5, and 9 when it's when we're thinking about multiplying with zeros and ones? Yes, there are some facts that you already know. Because we learned our 2's facts, you learned 2 times 0, so you also now know 0 times 1. Same thing with our 1's facts. You learned 2 times 1 when you did your 2's facts. Now you know 1 times 2 when you're thinking about your 1's facts. So you already know 0 times 1, 0 times 2, 0 times 5, and 0 times 9, as well as 1 times 2, 1 times 5, and 1 times 9. So, since we already know those, you're a little bit ahead. We are going to think about a problem here, and I'm going to give you time to pause the video and think. But I want to give you the problem first, and the problem is Jackson has 6 bowls. He puts 1 apple in each bowl. How many apples does he use? So, what I want you to do now is I want you to pause the video, and I'd like for you to show me a picture, a repeated addition problem, and your multiplication problem. And then I also want you to discuss your answer with your parents. So go ahead and pause the video now. Okay, did you get your product? Good. Now let's go over it. I want each of you to have your 10 counters out in front of you. Then I want you to take a sheet of paper so that you can draw your groups. So, on your piece of paper, I want you to draw your 6 groups. So I'm going to just draw 6 circles. Make them big enough to where you can use your counters to go inside. So there are my 6 circles. Now, the original problem was he has 6 bowls and he puts 1 apple in each bowl. How many apples does he use? So, you are going to use your counters, and Miss Tillman's just going to use a dot. So I'm going to put 1 apple in each bowl. There's my drawing. You are going to use your counters and put 1 of your counters inside each of your little groups that you drew on your piece of paper. So how many apples did he use? Well, simple. We can count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 apples, right? So, I also wanted you to draw or write your multiplication problem, and that was 6 times 1, 6 groups with 1 in each group, and your answer is 6. your repeated, sorry, I almost lost my camera. Oh, get that fixed so it doesn't fall. Okay, sorry. All right, your repeated addition would be 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 6. Okay, and there's your picture, of course. Okay, so now what I want you to do is I want you to pause the video and I want you to fill in your facts tables. Here's some hints. For 1's facts, anything times 1 is going to be that number. So for example, if I did 5 times 1, the answer will be 5. The product is 5. Anything right here times 1 is going to be that other number, okay? And a little hint with your zeros, anything times 0 is 0. That takes no brain power at all. If you see a number multiplied by 0, it's always going to be 0. So I want you to go ahead and pause the video now, and I want you to fill in your charts, and you are actually going to bring those into Math Workshop tomorrow for some tickets if you get it done. So go ahead and pause the video now. Okay, great. Did you fill in your charts? Okay, so I want you to look at your tables. What did you notice happens when you multiply by 1? Hopefully you noticed that the product is the same as the number that you multiplied by 1. I stated that earlier as a hint. The identity property of multiplication says that when you multiply a number by 1, the product is that number. So what pattern do you see in the products for the zeros facts? The product is always going to be 0. That was one of my hints. The zero property of a multiplication says that when you multiply a number in 0, the product is always 0. So, to leave you off, I want you to write down, I'm going to give you 3 problems, and I want you to write them on the back of your charts table, and I want you to bring in the product tomorrow, but be ready to explain how you got that answer. So, the first problem is 87 times 1. The second problem is 2,414 times 0. And the third problem is 243 times 1. There are your problems. I want you to go ahead and solve those, and then I want you to bring them into Math Workshop on the back of your completed multiplication fact charts, and we will discuss them tomorrow, and I look forward to seeing you. Have a good evening.